Hey folks, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Unmasked. Today we're going to talk about the electrical system in the house. So I was working on doing electrical in the house. Now, one of the things I do for a living outside of fixing up houses and trying to make a little extra cash on the side from rentals or fixing flips and all kinds of fun things with real estate and YouTube, thank you very much for watching. One of the things that I do is I teach people how to work on natural gas appliances. And natural gas appliances also have electrical components. So I am very familiar with schematics, with electricity in general, both on the millivoltage level as well as on the regular voltage between the 110 or the 120 volts and the 240 volts. I'm familiar with that stuff. So when it came time to install the electricity, the wiring inside the house, I took it upon myself to do that. Now I did consult with an electrician, and this is one of those things where you can save money, is when you're going to take on a job, a project, if you know somebody, or even if you don't know somebody who is an expert in that class, one of the things you can do is you can contact a professional in whatever it is, whatever field that you're working on, and you can hire them as a consultant. Now I ended up talking to somebody that I knew from work, and I took my house plans to him and I showed him, okay, here's where I have all my outlets, here's where I have all the lights, what breaker should I use for this, how many amperage for this, what kind of wire do I need 14 gauge or do I need 12 gauge? So I was installing the system and I was running, I took the plans and I drew lines from the breaker box to everywhere I was going in the house, and I was planning out where I was going to go, drawing it out so that I could measure on paper how much wire I needed. And I think I went through, was like 300 feet. I must have gone through like 300 feet of wire. I ended up spending $1,000 just on the electrical wiring alone. And that was not hiring anybody to do it. That's just for the material. So that's to wire a whole house. Now I had talked to a guy. I never did get an estimate to have somebody else wire the whole house, but I was told that if I'd hired somebody else to wire the whole house from scratch, it would have been somewhere around 20 grand. I don't know if that's true. I didn't call anybody because I figured I could do it myself. And I did, for the most part. Now, while I was in Lowe's buying material for installing electrical outlets and whatnot, I ran to a fellow who was an elderly man, and he was in the same aisle as me, in the electrical aisle. And we'll call him Brad. So Brad comes out, and I say, hey, or I'm talking to Brad, and I say, hey, Brad, do you do anything with electricity? And he says, yes, I'm an electrician. And I said, okay, fine. So I said, would you mind coming over and taking a look at my house? Because he was working on some other project at the time, which, like I said, that's a good sign. So I asked him to come over to the house. He came over to the house, and I told him, look, I'm building this house. I have permits, and I would like you to just kind of give me an idea on how much it would cost for you to wire my breaker box. And so he takes a look at it, and so I'm getting an estimate from him, and he gives me the estimate at $300. I think it was $250 or something like that. It ended up being $300 for him to do the breaker box. So he did that, but I got all the wires to the breaker box. Now, I can't say that he did the most amazing job. He really didn't do the most amazing job, but he did a job that I didn't have to do. And it was worth, in my opinion, it was worth my money to have somebody else do that, because to run all the wires in there was a nightmare. But while he was here giving the estimate, I was able to take him around the house. And this is where value comes in place when you're doing estimates. If you are present while they're giving you the estimate, they're open to answer your questions. So if you say, hey, Brad, how do I wire this outlet? Which, if you don't know how to wire an outlet, don't be wiring your house. But how do I run this, or how do I run that, and how far apart do I need to put the staples in? And so he would tell me, oh, it's this and this and this and this. So you can really get really good information as far as passing inspections based on what they tell you, because the inspectors don't always tell you. So it's good to get somebody who does this for a living that comes out and can tell you all this stuff, right? So I'm installing all the electrical lines, and it's time for the inspection. Brad, the electricity guy, has installed my panel, so I'm good to go, but there's one problem. I'm missing the panel cover. The panel cover is completely gone. Somebody, in the first year when I had this house, somebody took the panel off, and matter of fact, this guy had taken his RV, parked it in my driveway, and hooked his RV up to my electric box, and was stealing electricity from me. Not cool. We ended up calling the cops on him and caught him. And so he's gone, out of my face, out of my life forever. And that was interesting. So my electric panel cover has been missing all these years. I just had the breaker boxes, and I installed the breakers, put in the, he got the wire all attached to him, but I didn't have a panel. Well, you cannot pass an inspection if you're missing that panel cover. So what I did was I contacted Nick from Nick's Fix-It, and he arranged for the panel cover. All right, so I got all the electricity in, and I do the inspection now that I've got that panel in place, and I don't pass the inspection. I'm like, what is going on? Well, so the first guy comes out and he says, you don't pass the inspection. He said, not ready. And I'm like, not ready? Everything's ready. Come to find out, I had to contact the inspection office. I couldn't contact them directly because these guys just are unreachable as a person. I call up the office, and they're like, sorry. I need a supervisor. I contact the supervisor. I finally got the number of the inspector. I contact the inspector, and the inspector says, well, I didn't want to have to write a book. Excuse me? You didn't want to have to write a book? Is there that many problems with what I had done? So here's the thing. I got another inspector to come out, and I made sure, I actually hired Nick from Nick's Fix-It to come out and stay at the property. So when the inspector came out, the inspector was able to talk to Nick and tell him what the problem was, and he was nice enough to make me a list. Because here's the thing, I'm an owner builder, which means I'm the one doing the building myself. I'm not having a general contractor do everything for me. And the first inspector had thought that I was, I guess, hiring a contractor to do everything. And that's kind of what he told me. You should hire a contractor to do this. No, I shouldn't hire a contractor to do this. I'm doing this owner builder. I'm going to do it my way. So anyway, so the guy that was with Nick ended up writing 2 pages. It was like 21 or 22, I think it was 21 items that I needed to do. But it was perfect because now I had a checklist to tell me what I needed to fix. And so that's what I did. I went to fixing it. For instance, you cannot have 14 gauge wire and 12 gauge wire on the same breaker. I didn't know that. So for some crazy reason, I needed to have an outlet, I needed to have an outlet within 12 inches of my sink, which makes no sense whatsoever because water and electricity are not 2 things you want to put together. So whatever, on my GFIs in the kitchen, I wasn't allowed to have 1 GFI cover all the outlets. I actually was required to have 2 GFIs and outlets connected to the GFI, 2 separate GFIs. Once again, doesn't make sense, but that's what they wanted. Another thing, any wall that was more than 24 inches wide had to have an outlet. Well, I just so happen to have a 25-inch wall, I think it's 25 or 26-inch wall, between my the bathroom and the closet for the master bedroom. It's like 25, 26 inches. So now I have to install an outlet that I didn't prepare to have an outlet for. So there's all these stupid things. So now I got to run new wire over to it. You had to staple within 8 inches, I think it was, from the outlet. You had to have your staples 42 inches apart. And there's just all these rules that just, to me, make no sense whatsoever. But I did them, and I just checked them off, like whatever. If that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. So we got it all looking pretty. We passed inspection, and here's the key to passing inspections. Be there or have somebody in that, or have someone there. Because when the inspector comes out, if you're not there, they're just going to do whatever they want to do. But if you're there and you can be nice and cordial and friendly, then you're more likely to pass inspection because they are human too. They're kind of an evil part of humanity, but they're evil too. No, they're great people. So all those inspectors that are watching this video, you're great. Well, it looks like Lowe's is here.